Hello everyone, I'm really sorry about the wee delay there, but welcome to yoga and thank you for your patience. We were having problems with sound, but I hope you can hear me. I don't have my earbuds in, so perhaps the sound isn't as great as it normally is, but I hope you can hear me, because 5 or 10 minutes ago we had absolutely nothing. So welcome to yoga. Let's get going. Just a wee reminder, this is now a 40-minute class and the idea is that it builds into your day just with a bit more fluidity. And I must be thinking about fluid and water quite a lot just now, because that's actually the theme of today's class. Last week we were working very much on grounding, and today we're going to move up the body's main energy centres gradually over the next few weeks, and today we're in the pelvis. This is an area that's associated very much with fluidity, flowing, going with the flow. So what I'd like you to do is just come into a comfortable seated position for a moment or two and rest the back of your hands onto the legs with the thumb and the index finger lightly touching. Close your eyes and let your attention land on your breath. Just let it sort of catch a ride with the breath. This energy centre, I'm just having a quick look at my notes, helps us feel creative, positive and receptive to change. It's also a chakra that's associated with pleasures in life, which we deserve. And as we take our attention to the breath, take a moment or two to notice the soft sound of the breath, vibrating, even singing slightly over the throat. And maybe allow that breath to become a little bit more, shall I use the word? Yes, I will, manipulated. So you're kind of moving the breath in and out with a little bit of a opening in the belly on an inhale and just a gentle squeeze with the belly button on an exhale. So you're introducing the muscles of the abdomen to kind of move and contract along with the automatic movement of the diaphragm. And maybe allow the intercostal muscles of the rib cage to gently expand outwards on an in-breath, and notice them gently contracting on an out-breath. So this is resonating through your throat. Maybe you're beginning to sound like a kettle beginning to warm up and simmer. This lovely breaking wave sound in the back of your throat. Well done. And allow the breath to return to almost normal. And drift your arms up above the head. Opening the eyes and take your hands down to one side so that you can roll into cat pose. We're going to do a different cat pose today. We're going to circle with the hips. Now I would recommend you tucking your toes under. Do you remember last week we worked into the base of the spine and the feet with a grounding theme? So we're going to give a little nod to that again by working into the soles of the feet and allowing this lovely circular motion with your hips. Rolling your shoulders beyond the wrists if that feels okay. And then switcheroo, go in the other direction. So take that circle nice and wide. Bring the circle up to the top, all the way back down, nice and wide. And then then what you might want to do, it's a bit complicated, but you might want to use a figure of 8 shape. And as you use your figure of 8 shape to follow your hips along, then you can involve kind of the whole body. You can involve the spine, the shoulders, get the shoulders and the elbows moving to accommodate this. It doesn't matter. You might have a slightly crazy figure of 8 and that's okay. Lovely, okay. Flatten your feet, bring your knees in if they've, like mine, they've drifted out to the side. Have a little bob back down into your child's pose. Taking a breath in and hands slightly forward of your shoulders now as you tuck your toes under, and here you are in downward dog. And as today's class is kind of moving with a flow, with fluidity, you can push into the heels, softly bending at the knee, walking your dog. Excellent. Drop down your knees, flatten your feet. Here you are now in swan pose as you roll, if that's the correct word, allowing your hips to land back down towards your heels, and you can go for a little wander to your left. So padding your hands over to the left and then rowing, I need to stop using this word, rowing, dropping your head to the ground and enjoying a nice stretch along one side of the body. And take your right hand and just walk the fingertips slightly forward so that you can exaggerate that stretch along the right side of the body if you want. We've got an awful lot of repetitive strain and shoulder niggles going on in the world just now, probably no thanks to all the screen time that we've had to adopt over the past year. So take it nice and steady in your shoulders and pad your hands over to the other side and lengthen away with your left fingertips now, join almost like a crescent moon shape. And walking back to the centre. Now, I'd like you to come back up into Vajrasana pose. We did it last week. You've got your toes tucked under, you've got your palms down by the side, the thighs. And we're going to do the striking cobra pose in time with your breath. So let's start with the toes tucked under in swan pose. And take an inhale as you come forward, lower your hips and then flip back your feet. Exhale, tuck your toes under and bring the hips back. And again, without listening to my commentary, rather you would complete this moving sequence by following your breath. And if you're not enjoying Cobra today, drop your elbows into the gentler Sphinx. And what we can do is we can make this kind of a little more animated. And as you go back into your swan, sink the hips, and then scooping the tummy up, coming through almost like an angry cat, and then into your back bending cobra. And this is all part of being fluid and going with the flow. The breath will guide you. This is known as a samskara, whereby we find a pattern, a positive pattern. And allow your next dive back into swan to be your last motion in that sequence, and then coming back up into kneeling pose. And we're going to take our feet quite wide now. And ideally, I'd like you to fold your right leg in and just make sure that your knee is on your mat, because you're going to roll onto your right knee and we'll swap sides. So we're looking to use the padding on the knee rather than rolling onto the floor if you've got a hard surface. Alright, fingertips down. Draw your chin in and lengthen through the back of the neck. Allow your shoulders to drop away from your earlobes. Feel the connection through the lower back, through the tailbone and the sitting bones. Fingertips lightly supporting you. And we're going to allow your left arm to drift up. But we're going to take a little forward fold. You're going to bring your left arm forward ever so slightly. Push in with your lengthened away heel and rolling up into this side stretch pose. Now, I was teaching this morning in a real life situation in a class, and there was a little bit of this going on. But what we're looking to do is take the hip above the knee. So it's like a cat. It's like an open cat pose. That's kind of where we're going. And then orchestrate yourself back down. Come forward with your torso a little bit. Stretch out your right, fold in your left. Your right arm is guiding you now as you roll onto your left side. You could also say this is a bit like triangle pose from kneeling. Now, don't look at me, but see if you can move from side to side with a bit of flow and momentum. Don't worry too much about the breath in this one. Go at your own pace, of course. Doesn't matter what it looks like. The important thing is that you now feel some kind of rhythm building. That's excellent. That's really well done. I'm just going to double check that everything's still okay. Yeah, I think it is. And then we'll make this perhaps your last round. And we're going to come back to kneeling and hands, but we're going to come all the way back up to standing as we roll up to standing, and the top of my head slightly disappeared with apologies. Okay, come with me. A little nod to chair pose that we did last week, okay? Breath in, and a forward fold and a breath out. Now, inhale and look up and spread your wings a little bit. Lift your tail, and then exhale by taking your arms forward and glide them up, sink your hips. Inhale while you're in your chair pose, and then exhale and push yourself back up to standing. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale, looking up. Exhale, chair. Inhale, staying in your chair. Exhale, down through the hands and the feet. And then inhale again. Exhaling. Inhaling, peeping up. Arms forward. Exhale, chair pose. Inhale, chair pose. Lift the heels. Exhale the heels down. Inhale. Exhale. Spread your wings a little, lift your tail. Arms forward, exhale into chair. Inhale. Exhale down. One more time. Breath in. Breath out, soft knees. Breath in, look up. Tail lifting also. Arms forward, exhale for chair. Inhale, staying in your chair. Exhale back out. Good. Bring your feet wide and turn your toes out. Place your hands on your hips and let's sink down into the goddess pose. You did really well last week in this pose. It's called Malasana pose. So we're building on all of this, and this is a really good pose for just feeling a little bit of fluidity through the hips. So just think about transferring your weight from side to side, rolling over the feet and allowing the upper body to just sort of catch a flight with this little hip sway. And then take your palms together and come with me. See if you can lift into your right heel and place it down. Left heel and place it down. Both heels together and down. Right heel. Left heel. Both heels together. And straightening the legs and into a side stretch. And the other way. Palms together, back into one more round. Inhale in. Doesn't matter about the breath actually. Lift the right heel. Sink the hips. Down you go. Lift the left heel. Down you go. Both heels together. Sink the hips. Roll the thighs out. Down you go. Tuck the tail under. Lift the right heel. Down you go. Lift the left heel. Down you go. Lift both heels. Down you go. And a nice release for your thighs as you go one way in your side stretch and the other way. That's excellent. Come back to the centre. Now, sequence I've not done for a long time. We're going to drift our arms above the head, or above our head, and we're going to make this kind of bow shape with our fingers lightly touching, nicely bent into the elbows. We're going to take our feet a tiny bit wider than hip width apart, and then deepen into your knees and drift the back of the hands along the floor, up the other side, pause, and rather like a fairground ride, we're going to go back with momentum, a bit like a swing boat. And it's a forward bend with some momentum, lots of deep knees, bending into the elbows, trying not to grip too much with the feet, lift and spread the toes if that helps. Good. And make this your last one. Good. And take your arms out to the side. I'm going to kneel down because I don't know why you've lost half of my head today, but you're still standing. Turn your heels of your hands up, inhaling. Exhaling, bringing one arm in. Inhaling, just gesturing again with the heel of that hand, that palm opening. Exhaling, palms together. And inhaling again, just a gentle lift and a look to the sky, and then an exhale. Draw your palms in. Inhaling, drawing one palm in, exhaling. Inhaling again, just a gentle opening, and exhaling as you bring the palms in. And then a look up on an in-breath, and it's the exhale that guides the palms back towards the chest, with the eyelids gently lowering. Wonderful. Okay, so for this next pose, what you might want to use is a cushion or a blanket, because we're going to have a little dive into pigeon pose. Pigeon pose is a great pose, but when we go into it, let me quickly demonstrate. Sometimes the folded knee, hip is quite high off the ground, and that can be softened or connected to the ground by using a cushion or a folded blanket underneath your folded hip. We're going to start, all of us together, in downward dog pose. If you're not in the mood to do pigeon today, that's okay. Drop down into cat while the rest of us are doing pigeon. But we're in downward dog and we're settling those heels towards the earth. We're deepening our knees and we're lifting into the tailbone, and we're feeling some movement spreading across the lower back. And all the way down in between the shoulder blades, the neck, nose to release. Now come with me and take your right leg and float it up, bend at your knee, and then gliding that bended knee all the way forward, lowering your hips, landing your back knee down and flattening your back foot. Fingertips are steepled and you're in a very traditional pigeon pose. Move into some cat stretches if this is uncomfortable. Now, do you remember we did OMS last week? I'm going to chant 3 OMS to you. Oh no, I'm going to use the singing bowl. 3 of these and then 3 silent OMS. Drop down onto your elbows, lower the head, and allow the mantra Om to resonate in your mind's eye, your inner sound. As you exhale, imagine the mantra Om. Three times in total, the mantra Om. The exhale, the hips sink. And we take a deep breath in, we drop our fingertips down, we come back up into our regular pigeon, tucking our toe under and coming back into downward dog. Let's allow our left leg to bend and float high. And then scooping forward with the left knee, it comes all the way and it rests somewhere in between your hands, and you fold your opposite leg back and pad underneath your folded hip. Take a deep breath in, and as you exhale, allow the singing bowl to resonate with you.
Feel free to roll back into cat, otherwise dropping your elbows down, releasing your neck, head is heavy, hips are sinking, and breathing in on your exhale, an inner sound of the mantra Om, 3 rounds. Let that resonate with you, the mantra Om.
Well done. Slide your hands back in line with your knee, tucking in your toe. And again, stepping back into downward dog. Wonderful. Dropping both knees down to either side. Okay, just sit back for a moment into your Vajrasana pose. So this next pose can be quite uncomfortable on our knee, especially when we're transitioning. So I'd highly recommend that you fold up your mat a couple of times and you use a cushion, okay? Now don't worry, we'll come into a lunge, step your right foot forward, and what we're going to do is and it's optional, we're going to bend this back, we're going to lift this heel, bend this back knee. That might not be for you though, that might be the last thing you want to do if you've got an old knee injury or the knee joint feels vulnerable. Then you can simply join in this instead. Let's all heel to our foot forward and feel the hips sinking towards the ground. So we're in quite a deep lunge. Allow your neck to lengthen by drawing your chin in ever so slightly. And you can feel this wonderful mobile pelvis just drifting down to earth. If you want to come with me on folding your back leg, then I'd encourage you to shorten that stance and come back to a less intense stretch. For everybody, let's place the right hand on the back of the right knee and link the thumb and index finger together into Chin Mudra. And if you're coming with me, see if you can start to fold into that back knee and catch hold of the foot. And now you're in a little bit of a back bend. And what you can do is something a tiny bit more intense. You can take the heel of the hand onto the front of the toes, and you can bend the toes ever so slightly towards your hips. And you are bending into your elbow as well. This is quite a deep lunge, and you're opening out the front of the back foot nicely. Remember, you don't have to do this. You can stick in a plain vanilla lunge. Feel your collarbones widen nicely. It might feel wider on your left side, and that's okay. Lovely. Okay, now be gentle with your knee. Why don't you let go of the foot, drop your hands down to either side. Let's step back. You might be off your mat and lift off your knees, and here you are in your plank pose. You tuck your elbows in, you lower yourself down to the ground, you fold back your feet, and you move into a simple cobra. And then with your knees landing on the padded area of your mat, you walk your hands back into your kneeling position with the toes tucked under. How did that go? Is that okay? It's an option, you don't have to do these things. Stick with the practice that you know. We're all very familiar with lunges. Let's step our left foot forward, isn't it? So left foot goes forward. And if we're going just plain vanilla, drop your palm open with the thumb and the index finger linked. I should have said opposite hand onto hip. And walk the forward foot so that you can sink the hips and widen through the collarbones. And this might be the version that you're practicing today, and that's good. Otherwise, come with me, you can narrow that stance a little bit. Listen to anything in the knee that tells you that this isn't right. By folding into the back knee, you might need to just dive forward a little bit, reaching back with your right hand and catching hold of the top of the foot. And from here, I'm cheating, from here we can take the heel of the hands to the toes and bend the toes towards us. We're pressing down with the palm of the hand, we're bringing the foot a little closer towards the hips, and we're bending into our back elbow. That collarbone feels nice and wide and the hips are square on. Sink the hips. Good. Draw your chin in, lift the heart. Sink the hips. Wonderful. This is a really strong pose. As you let go, dropping your foot gently, hands to either side of the forward foot, tuck in your back toe and slide back into plank pose. Turn the inside of your elbows towards the end of your mat as you lower yourself down to the ground, flip back the feet and a nice long neck in your cobra pose. Excellent, really well done. So I'd like you now to get rid of any folds in the mat so you've got a nice flat surface now. Okay, I tried this morning. This is the last sequence we'll do before relaxation. I tried this morning with my class at the barn at Barra Castle, and the looks on their faces were a picture actually. They just didn't have a clue what was going on. We're going to go for a bit of a roll, okay? I'm going to instruct you as to whether it's your right or your left leg that you're folding. But actually, once you get into it, you can almost improvise and make this up, okay? So we're going to start lying down on our tummy and have your hands in line with your chest and your elbows bent. So you're squeezing your shoulder blades together and you have your forehead resting on the ground. Now, fold into your right knee. So, this is all very casual. You're just folding into your right knee and the sole of your right foot is now pointing up the way. You can have a quick look at me if you need to. And you're going to roll to your left. You're going to roll to your left and drift your arm up. You're going to go cartwheeling back round so that you're heading back down onto the mat. Bend into your left leg and roll to your right. Back you go. Bend right. Roll left. How we do? Back you go. Now, it doesn't really matter which leg's bent, okay? That's the main thing. Just go for a roll. Go for the little flourish at the end. Now, next time you roll back, you might want to lift your hips in a flourish. You might want to keep your hips on the ground, and that's okay. It's an option. And it starts to feel like quite a bit of hard work actually. If you don't like press-ups, try these instead, because you're still working the upper body muscles and you're warming everything up nicely. So this is a lazy, rolling, steady press-up. Can you feel it in your upper body now? Something that just seemed like a little bit of mucking about now actually feels like we're progressing. Maybe do one more roll to each side, everyone. And the next time you come down, I want you to go symmetrically up and over, back into swan pose, scooping up into the angry cat, and then join a lovely exhale. Coming into a cross-legged position. For just a moment, all I ask is that you place the hands again in chin mudra, thumb and index finger linked, and allow your eyes to close. Take your awareness to below the waist and observe any changes there. Have you ignited anything? Does anything just feel slightly different below the waist? And I would like you to visualize the colour orange. And today's element is water. Colour orange, the element water. You're very welcome to stay here in meditation, but if you prefer, you can lie down. This is rather nice, having a bolster or a cushion or even a folded blanket under your knees. Rolling all the way back to lying and stretching out the legs, but allowing the back of the legs to rest down onto the cushion or the bolster. If you don't have cushions and bolsters around, that's okay. You can lie either in semi-supine or in savasana with your legs outstretched. Take your palms to the belly, drop your elbows, soften the lower back towards the earth. And then you can unfurl one lower arm at a time so that the back of the hands land on the ground. The fingers and the thumb are curled gently in. You're softening to the earth. And the exhale is helping that. The exhale is part of this guided, simple release to the earth. I want you to imagine a pond and a fish jumps out of the surface of the pond. You're not sure what it is, it's possibly a rainbow trout or something like that. You catch it out of the corner of your eye. You didn't see the outline or the colour of the fish, but you're aware of this little event because of the ripples across the pond that by now are reaching you as you stand at the surface of the water. And this stillness in the pond doesn't take that much longer to return to the shiny, filmy surface before that little event. I'm going to quote to you from the Buddhist monk Thich Nhat Hanh. He says, we only need to be still, and things will reveal themselves in the still waters of our heart. We only need to be still, and things will reveal themselves in the still waters of our hearts. Once again, returning to the element that sustains life on earth, water. Just imagine for a moment that you've now joined the fish in this pond. Maybe you're not a swimmer, maybe you want to just stay on the edge, but otherwise you're just gliding through the surface of the water, feeling the water support you in this lovely feeling of buoyancy. Water within you, water to sustain you, water to keep you just in this lovely state of floating. And on a day like this, it's not difficult to imagine little drops of rain landing on this pond, giving the plants everything that they need. As you slowly deepen your breath, have a little stretch into your fingers, your toes, your heels, and in your own time, give yourself a little pat on the shoulder for coming along to yoga today or watching this on catch up. Stay in your relaxation as long as you need to, but if you're ready to move on with your day, then come up to sitting. So thank you very much for coming today. Sorry it was a late start, and thank you for bearing with us. And I look forward to seeing you next week. Have a great day and enjoy the rest of your week too. Bye-bye.